Hello, friends, and welcome to Adventures in Pixieland. We are in Bible study. My name is Amy. I am indeed an ordained minister. We are in the NIV, in the New Testament, and we'll be in the NIV through next year because we're going to do the Old Testament and the Psalms in the NIV, and then in 2026 we'll switch to the KJV. I think it's like the 1863 or 73 version that we have. Today we are in the book of Luke. We are in chapter 22, and we are going to do verses 1 through 38 today. Yeah, and then we'll have a video also for Revelations. So, let us get started. Okay, so, chapter 22, verse 1. Judas agrees to betray Jesus. Now, the feast of the unleavened bread, or Passover, called the Passover, was approaching. And the chief priests and the teachers of the law were looking for some way to get rid of Jesus, for they were afraid of the people. Then Satan entered Judas, called Iscariot, one of the 12. And Judas went to the chief priests and the officers of the temple guard and discussed with them how he might betray Jesus. They were delighted and agreed to give him money. He consented and watched for an opportunity to hand Jesus over to them when no crowd was present, because they didn't want, a revolution happening. The Last Supper, verse 7. Then came the day of unleavened bread, on which the Passover lamb had to be sacrificed. Jesus sent Peter and John, saying, "Go and make preparations for us to eat the Passover. Where do you want us to prepare it for?" "Where do you want us to prepare for it?" they asked. He replied, "As you enter the city, a man carrying a jar of water will meet you. Follow him to the house that he enters, and say to the owner of the house, 'The teacher asks, where is the guest room where I may eat the Passover with my disciples? He will show you a large upper room, all furnished. Make preparations there.'" Excellent. They left and found things just as Jesus had told them. So they prepared the Passover. When the hour came, Jesus and his apostles reclined at the table, and he said to them, "I have eagerly desired to eat this Passover with you before I suffer. For I tell you, I will not eat again until it finds fulfillment in the kingdom of God." So he wants to savor it. After taking this cup, he gave thanks and said, "Take this and divide it among you. For I tell you, I will not drink again of the fruit of the vine until the kingdom of God comes." And he took bread, gave thanks, and broke it, and gave it to them, saying, "This is my body given for you. Do this in remembrance of me." This is how we make the Eucharist. These are literally things that, as a minister, I repeat at least a variation of this, because this is the NIV. In the same way, after the supper, he took the cup, saying, "This is the cup of the new covenant in my blood, which will be poured out for you. But the hand of him who is going to betray me is with mine on the table. The Son of Man will go as it has been decreed, but woe to that man who betrays him." They began to question among themselves which of them might be who would do this. Quarreling. He just created drama. Also, a dispute arose among them as to which of them was considered to be the greatest. You're kind of missing the point. Jesus said to them, the kings of the Gentiles lord it over them, and those who exercise authority over them call themselves benefactors. But you are not to be like that. Instead, the greatest among you should be like the youngest, and the one who rules like the one who serves. Servant leadership. For who is greater, the one who is at the table or the one who serves? Is it not the one who is at the table? But I am among you as one who serves. The reason you could tell Jesus from the false prophets, the false messiahs, which were everywhere, just like the demons apparently were just roaming free in the Old Testament before Jesus came on the scene to start make them running away. You could tell the difference because Jesus had his head down doing the work. We can only reap what we sow. That means don't expect plants to grow suddenly. If you don't actually plant anything in the ground, don't sit there and water a spot expecting something to grow that you didn't plant. I can almost guarantee you that if you do that, at least out here where I live, you do that, you will have weeds. You will get something. It just will not be something that you want. Because life will appear wherever water is. So, if you want a particular outcome, first you must be willing to put in the effort to get it. Okay? Don't be expecting any Jack and the Beanstalk stuff either. Like you actually have to cultivate long term. It requires consistency and calmness. But am I among you as one who serves? You are those who have stood by me in my trials, and I confer on you a kingdom, just as my Father conferred one on me, so that you may eat and drink at my table in my kingdom and sit on thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel. Simon, Satan has asked to sift you as wheat. Now, the Greek of plural, it's a plural, to sift a group of them. But I have prayed for you, Simon, that your faith may not fail. But when you have turned back, strengthen your brothers. He's the rock. But he replied, Lord, I am ready to go with you to prison and to death. So these gentlemen are expecting like a battle, like armed soldiers against them armed, and we're swinging swords for the freedom against the Romans. They weren't really expecting war against the Pharisees. Jesus answered, I tell you, Peter, before the rooster crows today, you will deny 3 times that you know me. Then Jesus asked them, when I sent you without purse, bag, or sandals, did you lack anything? Nothing, they answered. He said to them, but now, if you have a purse, take it, and a bag, and also a bag. And if you don't have a sword, sell your cloak and buy one. It is written, and he was numbered with the transgressors. Isaiah 5:12. And I tell you that this must be fulfilled in me. Yes, it is written about me is reaching. What is written about me is reaching its fulfillment. The disciples said, See, Lord, here are 2 swords. That is enough, he replied. So you don't need a whole bunch of warriors. One good skilled warrior can take out unskilled or, poorly trained or whatever rather quickly. It's not really a challenge. I mean, you see enough of it on those action movies, right? It's not reality. It's all right. As we go about the world today, let us remember exactly what it is that Jesus had to go through to be our Messiah. Right? As we just come out of the spirit of Christmas and giving and love, let us remember that Jesus, and the apostles for that matter, because of how almost every single one of them died. That's why there are those things called, I don't pray to saints, but I also don't deny that the life and the actions and, the church founders, like I don't deny that the apostles are in heaven. The apostles earned their place in heaven. Who am I? Firstly, I don't get to pick who goes to heaven and who doesn't go to heaven. But is it my belief system that the apostles, because of their sacrifices for Jesus, are in heaven? Yeah, of course. He tells them they're going to be in heaven. He said so. He told them directly. And Jesus doesn't lie. So they died for their faith, so they're in heaven. Anybody who dies for their faith in Jesus, they're now a saint. Now, the Catholic Church has got specific things that makes one a saint. But in the earliest definition, when they're in these prayers, they're saying saint. They're talking about people in the early church who died for their faith. God acknowledges all people who, die rather than worship some, demon. Of course he does. So strong was your faith that they could not break you regardless of the physical pain to have you worship something that was not God. That's faith. God rewards everybody's faith. That's why it's best if we actually make time for him every day so that we can show him our faith by not just making time for him, but absorbing what he says, which is treat each other good, and then go out in the world and do that. Or minimally, just manage not to damage anybody today. Because sometimes that's the best you can get. Until a little while from now.